That's great. Yeah, I thought, oh, I'll stop sharing while you're doing the intro. Um, yeah, so I'm comfy at home. This was the one really great thing about the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Made it a lot more flexible. People can join from the comfort of their own home. Yeah, I'm super excited about Kara moving into the CCRC as our post-secondary counselor. I said to Mark Talbot is our division chair, department chair, whatever the title, they changed the title, Anyway, today, and I said, honestly, I could not have handpicked a better person. So I'm super excited. Kara's been at York for some time now, so she knows York. She knows the systems we've been using. She's great at systems. And so she like me is always looking for ways to make things better. So I know it's going to be awesome. So kids are going to be in great hands, families are going to be in great hands, but I'm super excited about that. Yay. Okay. So now I'll share my screen because when I share my screen, I can't see anybody. Okay. Here we go. So I put some things together, just a little bit about what we know right now, where things are. So I want to first just talk about the class of 24 and their resilience. When you really think about their whole high school experience, this is a resilient bunch, right? I mean, we know they started during the pandemic. Obviously, everyone knows that. There were changes in the SAT, and now it's all digital. I don't know how many of those are seniors that would have impacted, but definitely that stuff was happening. Started happening in January, so any kids who were taking later tests could have been impacted by that. Obviously, the FAFSA has been a huge change. Anytime a new technology system is developed, there are going to be problems. So I surprised? I was not surprised. But there were some extra issues and lots of reasons for that. But some of these kids have faced really significant challenges in getting their FAFSA submitted. I still have kids. I met with 3 seniors yesterday. They graduated, so it's been really challenging. Colleges, a lot of colleges did extend their commitment deadline. Normally it's May 1st. It's pretty universal. But given the FAFSA issues, a lot of schools changed or did case by case. It's been really fun. Um, Also, the early round was a lot of deferrals. It was a pretty high level of deferrals, and I really think a lot of that is, kids are applying to more schools, and the colleges are trying to figure out, should they keep their admit rates the same? What if they over yield? What if they under yield? Yield is like how many students will actually commit and show up, and both under yielding and over yielding are a problem. So made things a little extra chaotic. But the second round did seem like it was better, and more kids in general seem to be pretty happy with decisions they got. So that's good, and I feel like for the most part we're in a good place. But Duke Decision Day on May 6th, there were definitely a good number of kids that weren't ready. But within a few days later in the week or the following week, a good number of them had moved forward. We definitely still have some who don't know. So here's where things are right now. I expect a little bit of shifting. So right now, 100 have indicated they're planning to attend a 2-year public college and one a 2-year private college. I forgot that one. 140 planning to attend a 4-year private and a 358 planning to attend a 4-year public. So you can see that we are very public college dominant, right? And more than double the kids are going there. 19 are still waiting for financial aid awards to make a decision, which is not bad in the grand scheme. I do worry about how many kids we might have lost along the way. I also worry, I mean, not that it's a big deal, but some kids I think did decide to go to like COD because they knew it was cheap and it just was easier. And it's obviously a great community college, so we're really lucky in that regard. But here we are. 18 are going to require follow-up because they didn't share their plans. And that's partly because we changed the senior checkout process. That's partly because some of them didn't walk in the ceremony, so they didn't have to ever show up. And so I didn't talk to them, so there'll be some follow-up. 17 of the seniors are going to continue receiving services, special ed services through our transition center, and some of those will also be enrolling in courses at COD. This is a relatively newer thing that's been happening for the past few years. where there's actually a York staff person who helps the kids and kind of is their liaison with COD. It's a really great program. Some other districts started it and we joined it. I think it's been a really good thing. So some of the kids may only do a semester of the transition center / COD support and then transition to full-time COD students. So pretty cool. 10 indicated they would be entering the trades, a specialty school, or an apprenticeship. Many of those in the construction industry, but there's a few other ones too, other kinds of specialties. One is one into the elevator union. Anyway, pretty cool stuff. 7 indicated they are planning to work, but 2 of them did say they might enroll in a program. One was interested in culinary, and the other one was thinking about getting their CDL, their commercial driver's license. 2 are enlisting straight into the military. 1 is going to be attending a military academy prep school with the goal of attending the military academy the following year. And then 1 is attending a military academy. We have 1 who's doing a post-grad year where they're going to kind of do more high school for athletic recruitment. And then we have 1 exchange student who is returning home. So that's the class. So overall, not as bad as it could be in terms of loose ends, but yeah, we'll be doing some follow-up on some of those. There are definitely some trends, so I'll talk about those, and then I'll talk about some UIC data, U of I data, and then obviously, please, I can't see you right now because I'm sharing my slides, so if you have a question, like, you can definitely just put it in the chat or say it if you want, that's fine. So Southern schools are definitely, I didn't finish my sentence there, that's good. Southern schools are definitely continuing to draw a good number of students, you know, between merit scholarships. I think the better weather, you know, these kids, you know, middle school, they endured some polar vortices. The pandemic and being inside a lot, not being able to open the windows for air circulation, I think had some effect on kids. So we're definitely still seeing a little bit of a trend toward a little warmer weather. But it's pulling back in a little bit because our Big Ten definitely, which I didn't include all the Big Ten schools, but these are the ones that had the most that I could quickly count. And the expanded Big Ten is like really big. But you can see like Iowa, 28 students, which is big for us. We usually send, you know, around 20-ish, but yeah, we're up there. Indiana, 19, Michigan State, 16, Purdue, 14. Purdue, really their advantage is that they haven't increased their out-of-state tuition in a long time, I think 11 years. So at a starting price, it's not bad. They don't give a lot of merit, but their starting price is lower. Ohio State 9, Michigan 6, which is great because Michigan is definitely not an easy place to get in. I didn't put Northwestern here, but we did well for Northwestern. Obviously, we have several recruited athletes who are also great students, so that's a win-win. Minnesota, we only had 3. So Big Ten still, it's taking, you know, we're going to have a good number of kids in the Big Ten, even if you don't include the expanded Big Ten. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, though, is definitely the big winner. It always is, but we have never had this many students commit to Illinois since I've been at York anyway. This being my 25th year, so 82 students have indicated their plan is to go to U of I, which is huge. I do think finances did play a role. I mean, everyone knows how much U of I costs. They know they may or may not get any money. U of I does, you know, have the Illinois Commitment Program for low-income families, and so we have kids going there that are paying nothing. And it's obviously it's a great school. There are kids all over the world, all over the U.S. and all over the world who want to go to U of I because of the reputation. So honestly, we're very fortunate to have such a great, you know, public institution. So let me give you a little bit of lowdown on how the admission results went with U of I. So final decision, the first round of decisions was late January. I think it changed every year, so now I can't even remember now. Maybe it was February 1st. I don't remember. But the final decision was March 1st. 287 students had started an application, which is huge, right? I mean, that's like, it's not half the class, but it's a lot. 10 of those, though, were either incomplete or they withdrew their application because they got an early decision somewhere else, and that's the rule. You have to withdraw your applications elsewhere. So that left us with 277 students with completed applications. Of the 277, 159, so 57.4% were admitted to their first choice major, and an additional 14.4% were admitted to a second choice major. So the total admit rate was 71.8, which is amazing because you go on their website, you dig all their programs, their average is like 50-ish. And there are very few programs over 50, so we did great. Um, Obviously, it's amazing. Um, 81 of the applicants did not apply for a second choice major, and 52 of those still were admitted to their first choice, which is great. I always encourage students applying to U of I to really look at the academic side of the website because they have a ton of great programs. And unless a student's really certain, like a student who wants to do computer science or wants to do elementary education, like there's probably not a second choice for them, especially elementary education. So some kids did not do a second choice, but most of them worked out. 7 students at the time that I compiled this report had already turned down their offer to either their first or second choice. And this was done within like 3 days of the admission decisions. There were some kids who already were like, thanks, but no thanks. I know I'm going somewhere else. So that was pretty quick. 74 students, 26%, 26.7% were denied admission, which again, overall isn't bad. And I think, if you look at grades and stuff, some of them weren't too surprising. There were a few that were a little surprising. There were 4 students that were waitlisted. So that's why the denied and the admit rate don't totally add up to 100. So they will find out after May 15th. So some of them could be hearing because they did move, U of I moved their commitment date to May 15th. So if a lot of students cancel earlier than that, they could potentially have offered spots. I haven't heard that yet, but there's a lot of kids. I can't keep track of all those things. So a couple things to know too. U of I continues to be test optional. All of our public universities in Illinois will continue to be test optional. So of the 159 students who were admitted to their first choice, it was almost 50-50 who shared a score who did not. And then of the 40 that were admitted to a second choice, a larger chunk did not share a score. So you can see that still like well over 50% of our students are getting in without a score. Of the ones who were denied, 17 shared a score, 57 did not. And the ones who were waitlisted, 1 shared a score and 3 did not. So we're still doing okay on the test optional. When I can get that kind of data, I think it's really good information to have. That's why I tell kids, some schools say they're test optional, but there are some I don't think really are. But U of I really appears to be. They really are relying on what they use to calculate. So we'll talk about that in a second. Here's some stuff, and I'll send these slides so that we can post this along with the recording, I think on the PTA website. So this is just on like major popularity. So I thought this was pretty interesting. We had the largest number of kids were admitted to liberal arts and sciences, and 48 of those, that was their first choice. And I'd like to remind people that chemical engineering, actuarial science, what else is there's several really competitive majors in the College of Liberal Arts. So it's not a lot easier to get in, but we did pretty well there. Business has become a very popular major. It has surpassed engineering, and 29 students were admitted to Geese. You can only apply to Geese as a first choice. You cannot list it as a second choice. So that's why no one could get admitted as a second choice. Students who put Geese as a first choice can obviously list a different major and a different program. We do have a good number of students who apply to liberal arts, economics, actuarial science. There's econometrics and quantitative economics, which is a mouthful. There's a bunch of programs that kids sometimes look at there. For business, the College of Agriculture has a major called Agricultural and Consumer Economics. We have a good number of kids who did that as a second choice, and a good number of them did get in. Some of them did Division of General Studies as their second choice, and they were successful there. So a good number of them were. So 25 students going to the College of Agriculture. Their outcomes are solid, and 19 of those students, that was their first choice major, which is great. Granger, 24 students, 20 of those was their first choice. Engineering does have a few second choice options. And then DGS, Division of General Studies. So that's where they can kind of explore and figure out where they want to go. 14 students admitted to a fine applied arts, 7 to applied health science. You can see how this goes. Com drops down, education. Might want to start worrying about education. Kids aren't going to teaching. We could talk about why. 1 school of social work, and 1 into the School of Information Sciences. They only started admitting freshmen, I want to say 3 years ago, I think, but maybe don't quote me on that. It is the highest ranked information science program in the country at the master's level, and because of its popularity and reputation, that's why they decided to start admitting undergrads. So there's that. So just a reminder, U of I does recalculate GPAs. They take an unweighted GPA on a 4-point scale, and they only include core courses. So English, math, science, social studies, world language. They do give sort of points for honors, AP, dual credit as part of their review. They very much care about the essays. So I tell the kids, take time, be thoughtful. They aren't long essays, so they really have to be concise and clear with what they write. I would say, given our success rate, they must have done that. So that's great. I just think we should feel really good about this cycle and the fact that with the Illinois commitment now, we have kids. I mean, years ago, I had kids who got in and couldn't afford to go there that were low income. They were gapped so much. And so this has been a really nice change to see some of our low income kids getting to go there. So let me stop sharing. I've been talking a lot. Woohoo. I'm going to put the slide. I think I have it here. Oh, no, I put it in there. Did I put it in there? Yeah, I put the link in there, didn't I? So you guys have the slides?
To the chat?
Yeah. Did I put it in there?
Uh-uh.
I see it. Maybe it's, there we go. That's so weird. So Google, funny thing, it showed up as an icon right above the message box. So I thought, I'm like, did I post it? But I clicked it and then it turned it into a link. And let me share it. Google, getting fancy on us. Getting fancy. So there was a raised hand. Let me, somebody has a question. I would say, honestly, if you have a question, either put it in the chat or just unmute.
Yeah, chat would be best, just so we're not talking over everybody.
Here's one. Do the kids have to complete the FAFSA every year they're in school? Yes, every single year. So this year's FAFSA, they started the FAFSA. They completed the 2024-25 FAFSA, because that's what school year it covers, using 2022 taxes. I had to think about that. Yeah. So it's going to open again in October. It should open on time. They hopefully will have all the glitches worked out. And that will give us longer if there are glitches too. This time it didn't open until the end of December, which is not typical. So October 1st it will open, and you will use your if your student is currently a junior about to be a senior, after October 1st, you'll go in and you'll use your 2023 taxes to complete the 25-26 FAFSA. So, and then each year families will have to update it again during college, because if income changes, that could change the aid packages. It's a good question. Other ones? Besides Big Ten, other popular schools. Well, South Carolina, I mentioned, Tennessee, Kentucky, those are pretty popular. Marquette was pretty popular. Trying to think who else I remember seeing a lot of.
Alabama?
Alabama's not as much, which is interesting to me, but
it has been.
I mean, it's a little less convenient to get to. You have to fly to Birmingham and then you have to drive a couple hours to get to Tuscaloosa. So that might be why. That might be a component.
I just thought they were offering a lot of packages.
Yeah, they do. They have pretty good scholarships. Yeah, but South Carolina was a big shift this year. I think it was, I forget the numbers now, but a lot.
How many Ivy League schools?
I haven't counted. I know we have Cornell. I don't think we have Stanford, do we? I think Cornell might be our only true Ivy.
I put Notre Dame and Northwestern in there personally from the
Yeah, and then you
Midwest,
put
but
the Ivy like. I mean,
yeah,
Ivy, right? Ivy League is. It's so funny. We get an Ivy League. It's a sports division, like Big Ten. You know, it's
yeah.
not like doesn't.
You had somebody
funny.
from Penn, right?
Oh, there might be a Penn. I think you're right. Yeah. You know, it's still settling, honestly, because I didn't really get to run the full report until recently with all the delays. So, yeah,
There's two more
but
questions in
lots
there.
of kids going to great places. Yeah, we do have a question.
There's
So,
two more questions went in.
yeah. Okay, hold on. Oops, I messed up my screen. Okay, let's see. Current insight on whether to submit scores to highly selective if your scores are low in the schools. Okay. So I do have a little guidance. So the juniors have a Schoology account. I've been talking to tech to make sure that they will stay open all summer so they can access everything that's in there. I'm going to be putting in some information about things to think about, whether or not to share scores, just generally. And I went into all of our English classes over the past couple of weeks. I was in all the AP English classes last Wednesday, the day after the exam, a couple of them on Thursday because I couldn't fit them all in one day. And I did, in that class, I did talk about highly selective test scores. So generally speaking, this is so hard. Because your kids are York students and York is a fairly well-resourced school, if you also are a fairly well-resourced family, you have money for test prep, that kind of thing, and they're going to know what your finances are when you submit financial aid paperwork, right? As a really super selective, or as a lot of us like to say, highly rejective school, because that's the reality, the most students are getting rejected, might wonder why a student from a well-resourced situation is not sharing a score. If I'm being perfectly fair, and I don't think I help you if I don't tell you that, so I'm going to tell you that, even though I hate saying it. That said, I definitely have students who just decided they just don't want to spend their time and energy on that, and I kind of told them, like, why don't you write about that? It doesn't have to be the main topic of your essay. There are extra kind of essays that you can write in the Common App, which most of the schools are in the Common App, not all of them, where you can talk about what standardized testing means to you and why you decided you just weren't going to jump on that train. But kids can make choices about their time and energy. But a lot of the more selective schools, as you all I'm sure have heard because the press has covered it, are starting to go back to requiring scores. The vast majority of schools are still test optional. So don't let the weird headlines, the clickbait, catch you, because they're trying to get you to read the articles. Schools are going back. And I'm like, some schools are going back, not all schools. So, but it does vary. Northwestern is staying test optional. UChicago went test optional before the pandemic, and they're going to probably stay test optional. So hopefully that answers. Let's see if yeah, and if you're in that middle 50%, I'd say probably share it, generally speaking, because you're in that middle 50%, especially a school that's test optional, because not everyone is sharing a score. And if you're in the middle 50% of a percentage of school kids that aren't sharing, that's probably pretty good. So I'll put that protocol into the folder for the kids before they're out. I'm going to send them an email tomorrow and hopefully get all that in there. Colleges should have all this information on their websites. If you go to any college website and you go to their admission page, undergraduate admission, freshman, they should list sort of what do you need to do to apply, and they should indicate whether test scores are required or not. A lot of times, if they are test optional, they put in information about that to explain it. So that's that's where you can usually find that information. And then I tell kids that, the Common App's going to reopen August 1st. So there's no panic right now to do any applications, other than I told them if their schools are on the Common App, they can go ahead and create an account using a personal email. They can start filling out general information, like the main Common App tab. And then it will shut down in late July and reopen August 1st. And then all the college specific questions that are there will be updated, so the kids will know, what to do. If a college has specific essay prompts, a lot of them will put them on their website this summer as well. So that's just, kind of timing. And then as far as deciding about scores, I think it's, once your student is like, I'm done, I don't have it in me to give any more to this test thing, then sit down and do a school by school analysis and see what makes sense. I definitely have kids who share with some and don't share with others, and that's totally fine. So, after Friday, how will school transcripts be sent? So, well, for juniors, I'm assuming is why you're asking. So there's no rush to apply this summer. The registrar is there, but usually colleges do want additional materials from the school, and counselors won't be able to send them. In August, when Common App reopens, which is when most schools are really starting to take applications, there's generally kind of no major benefit to submitting on August 1st versus September 1st. Like, there's just no difference. The earliest deadlines are typically October 15th, but most are November 1. There are a couple of southern schools, I want to say maybe Auburn, that says something about September 15th, which makes me crazy. But it's not going to put them at disadvantage. So I won't, Kara will explain all the steps to get transcripts to schools. The other thing is, this will get explained as well in August, but like tons of colleges are now having students self-report their transcript. So they may not even need an official transcript to go to school, but they're going to want a copy of their unofficial one in front of them when they're filling that out. Let me see if I can log into my Common App, if it will let me, because I'm not on my work computer. I tried to save my passwords, but I don't remember if I did or not.